Later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I sent it to.
What did he say?
Nothing.
Yeah,
We
they
didn't
didn't
respond.
respond.
It's typical.
It's Aaron Andrews' father.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty sportsman.
So you threw everything out except that book.
Yeah, and I kept this book. Well, I asked Charlie if I could have it,
You know what? Oh my gosh.
and he said, "Sure."
You should have told Ron about when they closed the IBM office this
Yeah,
past
I
year.
bet there was
He
stuff
went to
down
the
there.
event. I didn't, you know what? I didn't even think about
Yeah, that he would have wanted to be there.
telling you.
Yeah.
I'll show you what.
Because it's
I don't know
sad.
how
They
knew
closed the
anybody.
IBM office.
I knew, I don't know, I know a few
Or
people.
IBM in Tampa.
I'm still working there, but
We haven't been to an office, but I mean, the new office that was on the causeway there.
there's no
Right.
way.
There's
That's
no
right.
IBM office now in Tampa.
Really? Cutting back
Yeah.
all over.
My reporting location now is Daytona Beach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think there's a parts room there. He's still in the parts
Parts
room.
room.
There's something.
And it's a mess.
You'll clean it up.
There's one thing, Ron.
Yeah, I can't even get in there.
You always have a very practical solution to everything. You know,
Throw it
I
out.
mean, yeah.
When I got to up in Savannah, we were across the street from Sears and Roebuck, and the bank was on that corner, and Forsyth Park was a block that way. If you know where Forsyth. We were.
We walked by there, I can
You
remember.
probably
We were in
walked
We were
Savannah.
at the
Yeah.
south end.
And he
Yeah,
we were there last
think
year.
about
Yeah.
the
I think we saw that.
historical
I think we walked by that
value
building.
of Savannah.
Yeah,
Looks like a
He had no
looks like a
idea
fortress
until
looking.
I took him to Savannah. I said,
Not
"Oh,
very
yeah,
attractive.
We were
this
there
history."
earlier this, when did we go?
September.
September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first week of September.
But
See if I have a picture.
some things that I remember.
Is that kind of a long, there's a big fountain in the middle of it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Yeah, we were there.
We just
One of the
love
things that
Savannah.
I remember about
It was hotter.
working there.
It's hot.
Yeah,
It was,
oh, blazes.
Well, that was the most humid place
I
I've ever
would
been on earth.
look across the street, and I said something like, and I'll make it up. A black female was trying to do an umbrella, and it went the wrong way. So I made some comment like I would do. Look at that colored lady over there. And I know I'm not supposed to use those words,
He just left.
but I have white loads and colored loads in there. So anyway, I said, look at that colored lady over there. And Liz Reed was her name. She said, basically, you can't say that. And I said, why not? And she said, there is no such thing as a colored lady. She was old Savannah. They're colored women. They're not ladies. Now, have we
So
gone
that was the inappropriate phrase that you used, lady.
Yeah, lady was
Lady.
inappropriate.
Not the color part.
But
You went to the oldest
the other thing there is
liquor store.
I befriended a girl who worked for Universal CIT, which is a small loan company, auto loans and stuff like that. And we would have coffee sometimes, but lunch every day. And she would say things like, we had some excitement down in our office today. And I said, yeah, I saw the fire truck. What happened? She said, the wires in the wall were smothering.
Smothering?
Smothering.
Yeah, she had some cute things that she'd
Okay.
always come up with.
And then I'd say something like, let me think of another one. Oh, they laughed at me at the office today. I said, what happened? She said, somebody came in and said he wanted to make a payment on his car, and I wanted to know if it was cash or charge. But she would come up with those things. Oh, another one. She dated officers. She was Miss Armed Forces Day. She was very attractive. And she dated officers out at Hunter Air Force Base. And she'd ask them, what'd y'all do? I'd tell her, we went to see a movie. What did you see? And I said, we went to see Cimarron. She said, oh, I heard about that movie. was it good? And I said, yeah, Edna Ferber is the greatest. And she said, what part did she play? And well, I can't think of some of the things she would say about those officers. See, Dean Comby, our next door neighbor, he was an officer. So we would go to the officer club to dance and drink and eat. And so we knew some, and she would be there. So we knew some of the, what we call field grade officers that were there. I went, here comes our birds. She went to,
Coming to say Merry Christmas.
She's-
Welcome.
Is that a peacock or an egret or what?
No,
it's not a peacock.
Sandhill
Peacock.
What do you know
I couldn't
about
tell.
birds? Wait till you see
Right,
them.
man,
You gonna borrow my glasses?
Thing, yeah.
Their tails are usually laying down. That's only when they're strutting.
Does that look like a peacock to you at all?
I just saw a glimpse of this.
They're always in a family. You never
Oh,
see
yeah.
just one of them.
No, here comes the second.
There I see three.
There's three.
There they are. Yes.
Look at 'em, they
what was
just
it?
cruising by.
And they just walk out in front of you
Yesterday
when you're
morning,
driving.
a bright
they?
red cardinal came and sat on a bush right over
Right.
here. Then a couple hours later, the three birds walked down
So what
here.
are those?
Sandhill
Where's their
crane?
little partner? There's the third one, yeah. They must want to play horseshoes. They come to the right yard.
but I worked in Savannah for a while, and then Charlie got promoted to Charlotte, and Leroy Banks came in, and I thought, oh man, I'm gonna be stuck in this place forever.
In Charlotte, or in Savannah.
Yeah. And then
Like that would be the worst crisis in the world.
Well,
to
how
have to
long were
live
you
in
there?
Savannah.
In
for a
Savannah.
couple of years.
Well, back then they used to move you around a lot
Yeah,
more.
and then I moved from there to Birmingham,
That to me would be worse than Savannah.
and that's what I was told. I was being interviewed for the job, and the guy says, people would tell you Birmingham is not a good place. They will tell you if they are going to give an enema to the earth, they'll do it in Birmingham. And Birmingham, well, two things happened. When I went to Savannah, just before I went to Savannah, about 2 weeks, they promoted a guy in our office. And his name was Gene somebody. And I was told that I was the next one out.
Next one up or out?
Out. It was promoted out in the management.
Oh, okay.
And it was a decision between me and Gene. Well, Gene had taken a leave of absence and went back to the University of Florida and got a degree. So I didn't think it was any big deal. He had a degree and I didn't. So I figured.
Yeah.
So he got the job. Well, it sounded to me like my manager was apologizing to me because I'd been there rowing the boat while this guy was off playing Joe College. Well, then I go to Savannah. Well, I'm primed saying, well, you're ready to be a manager. You can have your own office, whatever, you know. I'm ready to go. And I go up there and I'm cleaning out the attic. And so I'm wondering, what on earth am I going to do now that Charlie, who's going to help me get promoted, is gone? And in comes this guy from Richmond. I got to prove myself all over again, and is that going to work? And
It worked.
what happens? What happens if I step on the wrong toe? Which I've done before. I did it with the what happened was we had a manager, Mac Overton,
So it's easy to do at IBM.
Macon
Find
Overton,
some,
Macon
find some
Overton.
toes that need to be stepped on too.
Macon Overton was the branch manager, and I had worked with his brother, McDonald Overton, and so I felt like I had an in with him since. And then I had a field engineering manager who was like a drill sergeant, you know. He was not easy to work with. And he wanted some information from my upline manager, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to divulge, what am I supposed to do? So I'm stepping on two toes, not knowing which one's gonna hurt, and then they came in and took this guy out. Okay, so the way it turned out, the dust settled and I'm still standing. But then, shortly thereafter, Leroy got me an interview in Birmingham. I'll tell you when this was. I want to say it was some sort of international thing, not the Cuban Missile Crisis, but it was some sort of international thing that they activated the National Guard because the manager in Birmingham got called up for this international military crisis, which was in
61?
might have been 61. When was the missile crisis? Was 62.
61 was Gary Powers getting shot down on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. So the guy manager was called up to active
Gary
duty.
Powers?
Gary Powers.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Sounds right.
And so they needed to replace him, so I went over there. Yeah, 61, because that's when Alabama won the national championship in 61. Because I was in Birmingham for all the glory.
All the glory and all the other riots a couple of years later.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
16th Street Baptist Church, been there, the riots. We rented typewriters to Martin Luther King, and he didn't pay. We had to repossess them. There was a company called Lucky Star Employment or something. Lucky Star was the name. And their job was to find jobs in Chicago for black people in Birmingham. And they would put them on a bus, send them to Chicago to take the jobs. We were shipping those blacks north, getting them out of Birmingham.
Oh my God.
And Bull Connor, and they had the dogs. Oh, and the Atlanta Constitution said that Birmingham police released the dogs on the blacks. Well, that couldn't happen. It's kind of like blowing the socks off of somebody. Sounds good in the paper, but it didn't happen. Those dogs, canine corps dogs, are trained so that if the handler is injured, they are to protect the handler. So if the handler doesn't have a grip on it, they don't leave the handler's side.
Was that fake news back then?
Fake news back then, yes. The Atlanta
Oh, my
Constitution said
goodness.
they turned the dogs loose on them.
Hashtag fake news, 1961.
Right. You know,
We don't know what a hashtag is yet, but we think it's important.
but when I was in Savannah,
It's a
I
pound
didn't
sign.
plant any shrubbery because I figured I was temporary there.
So
So-
we made it up in this yard.
So when I went to Birmingham, I said, well, this is permanent. I'm going to be here. So I joined the Civitan Club, joined the church, made speeches, ran the breakfast for the men of the church, the steak and egg breakfast, and
How long were you there?
4.5 years. Which
What were you an AOM or
Mhm.
yeah?
anyway, and but I had problems there. Billy Pugh, did you know Billy Pugh?
Not that I can remember.
He was here in Tampa for a while. Billy Pugh, when he was in the Navy, got a tattoo on his hand, and he said that
Well, IBM didn't like tattoos.
no,
Yeah.
but he got to be a manager with IBM, and his tattoo was here so you could see it. And he told me, he said, you would not believe the thousands of times that I wish I did not have that. And today, we see them with tattoos all over.
Oh gosh, I know. Lindsay's got enough.
And what do you
tattoos.
call them?
Tramp stamps.
Tramp stamps.
Oh, there's that. That are ass antlers.
Ass antlers. Very nice.
But they say yes to the dress. They have these beautiful gowns on, and then their whole body is covered.
Yeah.
And
I just don't
No
like
big deal.
needles, so, you know, just.
Amanda's got a tattoo.
Eyeliner's tattooed on.
Oh,
Oh,
I've
okay.
heard of that.
your eyebrows or your eyeliner?
Eyeliner.
I guess they do the eyebrows too.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
girlfriend
And they
just
do
had her.
lips too. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's gotta hurt.
Ow.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Yeah, my
that.
eyes have been tattooed for
So did that hurt?
like
No?
14 years or
Yeah, you got it for a
15
while.
years.
Oh
We
my
touched
gosh,
what,
I
once or
didn't
twice?
know they did that then.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean it hurt, but the pain wasn't so bad that I wouldn't do it again. Like
Mhm.
I've even thought about having it touched up on my upper eyeliner, my upper one, because it's been so long. But yeah, I mean,
But you're washing
I
They
bet
down.
it's
had
freaky.
that in Gainesville?
it was freaky because especially when they did the bottom
Right.
because
You can
you're
see.
looking,
Yeah.
you're
See
looking,
that.
the needle's
Yeah.
going right here.
Ugh,
Yeah.
knock me out.
Yeah.
Which one I'm sleeping, I don't care.
I had to have a little cyst taken off on the bottom of. Luckily, I didn't know what I was getting into. I
Right.
sat down in the chair. I went to the dermatologist thinking that he could take care of it. And he said, "Oh, I don't do anything on eyes. You know, to go to the ophthalmologist." So I go up in there, and there's that seat, you know.
Yeah.
And they, you know, he looks at it and he says, "Well, that needs to come off." so he's, you know, numbs it. I didn't really. He says, "We're just."
They
gonna
give you a
do-"
shot to numb it?
No, he just numbed it like with
Yeah,
a.
that's
Ointment.
this,
Novocaine
that was
like-
an
it's just a
ointment
little
is all
stuff,
she put
yeah.
on my eyes. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, and you got to keep your eye open. You can't close your eye for them to like
Right.
whack this little thing. So all of a sudden, I mean, literally, this guy walked. He said, "This is going to be real fast," and he walked up, and it was like a razor blade,
Oh.
and you're watching it come to your
and it's coming up, and he just did it so fast. I'm telling you what, if you would have told me what I was going to do, I would have jumped out of that chair faster than anything. But, yeah, and he wiped. I mean, how
Yeah, I didn't want to be
quickly-
sitting there going.
Syringe
But he
blade.
said, and we got to get enough of it out so it doesn't grow back, you know.
Right.
So guy must have known what he was doing. Is all I could say. So I highly recommend him if you ever need to.
They
Have
don't do a
something done on your
biopsy, make you wait 4 hours while they do a biopsy, and you go sit in the room and have your coffee and pizza.
No, but the thing had grown big enough that it was
Your
splitting my eyelashes
skin
on the
cancer?
bottom. Because you know when it's an eye, you just kind of put it off. Like, 'cause I don't like things people
Yeah.
messing with my eyes until it was so noticeable. So I figured I better go get it checked out. But,
No,
so.
I guess I get the next spot on my back.
Oh yeah, you got.
Yeah, I had spot removed. It's
Did
been
you?
a year now. Yeah, they did a.
Was it,
I went in for something else for them to look at something else, and they're like, "Oh no, that's a wise mark or something."
Right.
And then she goes, and so she says she looked at my whole body, and she's like, "But now this spot," and it was right here. She says, "Now this spot looks a little. We let us take a little biopsy," and so it came back atypical, and so they went in and
Dug it out.
dug out the whole spot.
Was it basal cell?
No, it wasn't any.
It
It was
wasn't
just
anything.
what it could have become.
It's all the
Yeah,
harvesting.
yeah.
It's
Oh yeah,
like
he's been
just-
harvested
It's to me,
umpteen
it's
times. Well, he's
baseball
fair
or it's
skinned.
honest.
You know?
Just
Yeah.
go, take that little razor when you're doing the biopsy. Just cut it out. If it comes back, I'll come back. Don't.
That was me. I didn't even know it. I mean,
If it's
If you got a bad spot on your back, you gotta get it looked at.
just clean it up.
I know, because we're
Oh,
out with my son, and he tries to. In fact, he just got a new hat.
No, all the
with a
damage
bigger
is
U
done
in
already.
it.
Yeah.
Protection hat.
And he's got the the neck gaiter,
Gaiter neck,
they
yeah.
love. He
Yeah.
wears the long sleeve shirts and.
The damage is done.
But I mean, when you're on the
kid,
boat, the water's
sitting
just
out lifeguarding
reflecting,
all summer,
off
you know,
the
or-
water, not just
Yeah.
the sun that's beating down on you. So it's just you're just getting it baking. And
growing up in the Marshall Islands and.
yeah, a lot of that's just damage that's
over
surfacing.
time.
Yeah,
Did you know that? He was in Kwajalein where Pam was.
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Not at the same time. The marina there is named after Pam's husband.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, McMillan Memorial.
Yeah. I think it was just the small boat marina or something when we were there. were there 63 to 65, and then 68 to 72, approximately. Yeah, about 5+ years. Then my parents went back again when I was in college.
Yeah, but when they rented out your house in Huntsville, that's
Yeah, they were still in college. And my brother and sister went there for a little vacation. But yeah, you can't go there for a little vacation unless you have special invitation or
Your
something
family.
for family, or you're there for,
there's not
government
much
business.
there now.
Yeah,
Closed.
there's groups on Facebook where you can see these, there's some from my kind of generation, so I recognize some names of people and my cohorts there, back mostly in the second group. But then I've seen a few other videos, some are just spectacular because it's, tropical paradise and beautiful snorkeling and scuba. That's why, for me, I would just to go off the end of the island as a kid, just, go right off, and there's just world-class aquatics right there. You come out here, it's all murky water, it's hard to see anything, and then people are doing these little videos, you see them on YouTube, a day on Fiji. Fiji was the next island over you could walk to on low tide, or people take a boat, or maybe do a little, now they'll do a paddleboard or something out there, go hang out on this little tropical island for a little bit, beautiful little beach and reef, but then they'll take a picture of, riding your bike around Quad, because there's no cars anymore, or hardly any cars, there are very few. And then there's nothing there. There were like 4,000 people, at times when we were there. And now there's maybe 1,500. It's like it's very quiet. Ghost town, and the theaters are closed down, but now they have closed circuit and satellite TV that we didn't have. So, my life was go to school, and then I would come home, and I would, if I wasn't running out to play golf, or sometimes I'd sit out and read, and then other days I go on the Ivy Field, because we live right next to the Ivy Theater. Just go out there, I take a golf club and a couple of balls and hit it from one end, chase them down, hit them back and forth, or take a football and kick it, or till somebody showed up and I get a little game, or sometimes take a softball and a bat, and but kept busy out there.
What did your dad do out there?
He was
Star Wars.
Well,
No,
yeah,
you don't
radar
want to
engine.
talk about it.
Well,
Oh,
it
it
was,
was
Defense.
it was
defense.
Star Wars before it had a name. They were building the interceptor missiles back in the 60s.
Oh,
And they would, fire them off. They were developing the technology, but they would fire the Sprint and Nike Zeus missiles off of Kwajalein. Some of them would go off of McElhiney and more. But they also had the big radars to do all the acquisition and tracking.
wow.
And Dad was more on the radar side. And so, when they do some of the interceptor tests, they're either shooting the mock warhead from Kwajalein. Usually the interceptor goes from Kwajalein, but usually they'll shoot the warhead ICBM from Vandenberg, and then they'll try to shoot it down from Kwajalein. And so that's basically what Kwajalein was about.
So they were doing back in the 60s, trying to shoot them out of the sky?
Yeah, they're doing, I don't know if
We
they were
didn't know
shooting
about any
down,
of
but they
that.
were definitely
You were
developing the
there,
technology of,
Wow.
okay, how fast can we make this rocket go? Can we track it? How accurate is it?
Hit a bullet with a bullet.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. So when they were, saying the Star Wars stuff doesn't work, I already knew.
You knew.
I knew it. And I just